I watched the film Matrix Reloaded last night, which I know is a bit errant of me since it's been out for years, but I just never had the opportunity to see it before. And I say I was so disappointed, because I loved the first Matrix film. I've seen it about 15 times, and the sequel was so disappointing. I don't even want to see the third one, I don't think. But that got me thinking about the first Matrix, and it particularly got me thinking about the scene in which Agent Smith is interviewing Neo quite near the beginning of the film. It's the second of 3 interviews that Thomas Anderson, or Neo, has, which end in choices. And the second of those interviews he has with Agent Smith, who's basically given him the opportunity to either help the agents catch Morpheus, or to go to jail, or to suffer some sort of dire consequences. But there's a line that Agent Smith says, and his delivery is fantastic, where he says something like, "It seems you've been living 2 lives." It's fantastic the way he says it. It seems you've been living 2 lives. And it's really stuck with me, that. I really like that. I like the phrase, I like all kinds of things about it. It reminds me of some stuff that Philip K. Dick talks about, all sorts of things. But the specific thing that I'm thinking of in relation to it this morning is to do with, I guess, intuitions, and the kind of intuitions which drive our understandings, and drive metaphors, and drive the organisation of our knowledge of the world around us, and our knowledge of abstract concepts. And I think there's an argument to be made that our intuitions are also living 2 lives, and are oriented around different concepts, really. Both of which is to do with our embodiment and our embeddedness within the physical and the social worlds that we occupy, but which I think are actually slightly different. One of which is to do with the fact that we are individual human beings occupying individual bodies that we have this sense of ownership of, bodies that we have these relationships to. I know I'm sounding dualist, and it's kind of intentional, but that's how it feels. But we have this kind of relationship to our bodies, and this set of imperatives that we go through in order to keep these bodies fed and watered, and to make sure they don't get damaged, all that kind of stuff. And we have this sentorimotor system which negotiates those imperatives for us, and that is us ultimately, that creates us as the site of those imperatives. So we have that very highly individuated, highly viewpointed, highly located, spatially located entity. And I think that acts as part of the logic of our understanding. And then I think we also have this other thing, because we are also social animals, possibly herd animals, or swarm animals, or pack animals, something like that. But we do swim through a sea of other people, I think. Richard Dawkins, I think, puts it something like that. And we live our lives largely in the light of, and through the ministrations of, and through understandings of other social beings like ourselves. So, for example, we unproblematically adopt other people's viewpoints, both literally, we can kind of imagine what a person's looking at when we see them, but we also can usually recognise their viewpoint, even if we disagree with it, their metaphorical viewpoint, their opinions, if you like. We understand their motivations, we understand intentions, beliefs, actions, plans. We can usually make pretty good predictions about what people are going to do. We can attribute narratives to their lives. All these kind of things which are part of the, well, I guess it's kind of theory of mind, isn't it? I don't know but we seem to be able to occupy other people's minds seamlessly in that way. And there's probably some kind of neuronal instantiation for that, whether that be mirror neurons or something else, I don't know. But we seem to be able, as I say, to do that without any thought. And whilst it's not as veridical as occupying our own bodies, it's pretty intense. I mean, I think we can do it pretty pretty closely. Certainly if we see somebody else suffering, we do wince in pain ourselves. If someone smiles or sneezes, it's very difficult not to smile or sneeze or yawn along with them. If someone starts scratching, it makes us scratch. So we do kind of live this other life through other people, as part of the imperatives of being a social animal, as well as being the imperatives of being an individual body in physical space. And the reason why this is interesting to me right now is because I think those two lives, and there's probably more as well, I mean these are just the ones that's jumping out at me, but those two lives seem to have different kinds of or produce different structures for understanding. And the one I'm thinking of right now is to do with belief, which I've spoken about before, and I've been trying to untangle different understandings of belief, different metaphorical and poetic renditions of what belief is, in order to be able to get underneath it a bit. And as I think I've mentioned before, there seems to be two key metaphors that we deploy when we talk about belief, and I suspect these aren't just kind of literary flourishes of speech. These are probably the kind of cognitive, conceptual metaphors which form part of our thinking. And the two for belief, I think, one is to do with seeing, and one is to do with authority and submission to authority, which I think is the origin of the word belief, actually. But the one that's to do with seeing, I think, is absolutely located within the individual body, the individuated body of the spatially located single being. So if I see this tree in front of me here, that seeing has a quality of truth about it which I would absolutely be happy to use as a metaphor for belief. And I say seeing is believing. That's we always say seeing is believing, and I think there's a great amount of validity in that. That when I am saying I believe something, one of the ways I'm using that is I'm attesting that the truth that I'm attesting to is as certain to me as if I was looking at an object in front of me and asserting to the true existence of that object. I'm probably using some of the same cognitive mechanisms to formulate that belief as an idea. So that believing is seeing, I think, comes out of that individuated sense of being. The other understanding of belief, which is to do with submission to authority, it seems to me is more likely to come out of a social awareness, a more extended and differentiated and diffuse understanding of being, which I assume, from an evolutionary perspective, comes from our origins as social pack animals, in which within that pack there are all kinds of roles, responsibilities, power relationships, relationships of accountability, all those kinds of things. In which case, if I say I believe something, I'm testifying to my own submission to the authority of a claim, probably made by someone else. So if I'm a pack animal and another member of my pack starts giving a warning cry because there's a predator nearby, then it would be pretty stupid of me not to believe the warning cry. I would submit to the authority of the warning cry and take off at a run. I wouldn't engage in any kind of skeptical inquiry about that. I would be submitting to its authority. So in that case, I think the second understanding of belief I'm talking about seems to have its origins, at least partially, potentially, in this second way of being, really, which is our way of being as social creatures.